So the difference between an 8-year piece of equipment and a 20-year piece of equipment, that is the same piece of equipment, by the way. There's no difference. It's only install quality. One is you want that pressure low, which is best done by downsizing the system so you reduce how much airflow it needs. Actually, there's going to be 3, so that's the first one. You want that pressure inside the ducts to be as low as possible. It can be extremely low. Like I said, one system that I have that's 0.13, that's the lowest I've done, works great. And that's on high, by the way. On low, it's actually not hardly measurable.
Low fan speed versus high fan speed.
Yes. Yeah. It's like 0.03 or 0.04. Like people would think the machine is dead running that low. It's not. So I don't know that you can go too low, where if you have too low blood pressure, you're dead. I don't know that that's possible as long as the fan's moving. And the duct system's relatively well sealed.
And again, that all requires, the properly sized ductwork, a lack of restrictions in the ductwork, turns, bends, all that stuff has to be accounted for. So if you have an undersized duct system to begin with, and you replace the equipment with something that's even equal size, it's likely not going to perform as well as your older equipment because of the new fan motors and things like that.
Yeah, the new fan motors move about 30% more air, which can easily lead to a 50 to 100% increase in duct pressure. Because it's a square, so it's a geometric function. So a little bit more airflow in a system that's at the edge of what it can do leads to a lot more pressure and a lot early failures. Wow. I've heard of a lot of failures, like 5 and 10%. So, and those are the ones that I know about.
Yeah.
There's probably other ones. So that's not good. So, if you can downsize the system, which requires a load calculation in general, or for the few that know how to do it, like me, you can take past energy use and get pretty close. In fact, far closer than manual J, ironically. I find that manual J typically doubles actual equipment size or actual heating load.
Yeah.
On anything.
And so what you're talking about, manual J, is like how to size the heating and cooling equipment for your house in particular, based on air leakage and insulation levels and a bunch of other things.
Correct. Thank you for jumping in and not letting me go too nerdy. That's called a load calculation in manual J from ACA. It's the Air Conditioners Contractors of America.
But using the utility bills as an alternate way to gauge the heating and cooling size of the equipment that needed for your particular house.
Yes, which I view as actually significantly more accurate for heating. For cooling, manual J is fine. It's plenty close. But for heating, it's off by a factor of 2 in most instances that I've seen. Actually, John Semmelhack just talked about that down in Florida at the HVAC symposium. He found exactly that. Manual J was 40 on a house, and he watched the actual runtime, and it was 20. And I've watched that again and again and again and again, which that brings another point up. You should absolutely always consider a heat pump, because heat pumps have lower outputs than furnaces. So the smallest commonly available furnace is 60,000 BTUs. The largest commonly available heat pump is also 60,000 BTUs. But I am shocked how many homes a 2 or 3 ton, which is 24,000 or 36,000 BTU heat pump, is actually the right piece of equipment. Even in Cleveland. Cleveland's not a mild climate. And it's like this year. It's been cold here this year. Though, if you can downsize the equipment, you can almost always take undersized ducts and right-size them. But you have to downsize a size to sometimes 3.
So you're talking about, I'm sure you're going to freak out some people just with this message right here. Why would I want to put in a heat pump if I live in Cleveland and put in a smaller system than what I currently have with my gas furnace? I mean, it's not going to be able to keep up, Nate. Why would I do this? And you're saying that it's generally just because they're oversized to begin with, and you don't even know what the actual load is. But I know you're a big proponent of heat pumps, and I generally am as well. And there's been a lot of talks I've seen you do on the dual fuel heat pumps with the gas backup and stuff. I don't know if you want to touch on that.
Yeah, I'll touch on that in a minute. But first, let's talk about the biggest piece of comfort. It's funny, then we'll come back around to the install that I meant to make the point of. I want you to picture that you want to get clean, and you've got 10 gallons of hot water. And you have an option between either a big bucket, so instead of the ice bucket challenge, it's going to be the hot bucket challenge, or you can take a 5-minute shower. Which one do you want? And of course, you want the shower. So that's the way to use that water well. So that shower is giving you a consistent and constant stream of heat. That is actually what you want. Your house works the same way. So most furnaces are at least 3 times oversized, and at moderate temperatures, say 50 degrees, they're routinely 10 or even 15 times larger than they need to be. So they'll just run for a couple of minutes and then shut off. So the air temperature comes up, but then you think about, like, I think about the couch in particular. Have you ever sat down on the couch, particularly if you have like a leather or a vinyl couch, and be like, oh, that's cold?
Yeah.
It's like if you have leather seats in your car and you go outside in the wintertime, it's like you don't want any bare skin showing that touches.
Right.
It's a very unpleasant thing. So your couch is going to be cold, even though the air temperature shows that it's high. All the surfaces and the materials are cold. Where if you can give it the same thing as that shower, where it's a consistent stream of heat that matches what the house needs at any given moment, I call it load matching, that will lead to a remarkably more comfortable home. Like, I was shocked the first time I experienced it. In fact, it was before we even did the shell work on a 100-year-old home in Cleveland. So it was using a crap ton of resistance heat. But it was a 100-year-old home that was still fully leaky. We hadn't fixed it yet. And I walked in and I'm like, this is the most comfortable place I've ever been in my life, like by a wide margin.
Yeah.
So like, I knew it, but I didn't believe it. There's a difference between seeing is believing. I was doubting Thomas. So let me put my fingers in the holes. It's amazing how much more comfortable the homes are. And the feedback that I got in doing house whispering was consistently, I can't believe this is the same house. So a lot of that in my case was being done with insulation and air sealing on one side, which we're both very comfortable with. But then a whole lot of it requires the right HVAC system. So you want an HVAC system that gives you that gentle stream of heating or cooling. That requires downsizing it so it doesn't run as much. Because otherwise, another way to look at it is it's like having a 400 horsepower Corvette and your option is on or off, trying to go 70 miles an hour or 70 degrees. All you're going to do is get whiplash. You actually just want like a Prius for that, just enough power to keep you running. And you want to keep your foot easily on the throttle, like gently on the throttle. Now,
and the other thing about what you're saying is, if you have the right sized equipment, it runs longer throughout each hour, it's going to push the air throughout the house and distribute the air to all the different parameters of the house, the exterior areas, more evenly. Because if, say, you got a house where you've got a system that's on one side of the basement and you've got your master bedroom on the complete opposite other side of the house, and that system only runs for 5 or 10 minutes, well, the whole house that's on that side of, all the rooms on that side of the house where the furnace is are going to be warm, right? The master bedroom's still going to be cold because the air didn't push over there far enough. And there's other reasons for that. Duct leakage, lack of duct insulation, air leakage in the house or whatever. But in general, that's the point that you're getting across here, is a properly sized system is going to push the air throughout the entire house enough that it evenly distributes that heat or cold.
100%. Yeah. There's the other piece there is you have to actually warm the ductwork up going to the other side of the house. Yeah. And it takes a couple of minutes. And it's a couple of minutes you don't have if the furnace only runs for a little bit. So downsizing the system really consistently leads to better comfort.
But it's running all the time, Nate. Like, something's wrong with my system. It's running all the time.
So that can be a challenge too that you have to get over in your mind. Think of it like highway miles. Does your vehicle get better or worse mileage on the highway than it does in the city?
Yeah, definitely better on the highways.